Hello there, good evening. Hello, everybody. And I do apologise most sincerely if you've been kept waiting. First of all, before we proceed any further, I would like to inform you that this session tonight is being recorded and will be shared with you on the ICE YouTube channel. The recording will also be sent to all registered for the event after the session. So my name is Deborah Royal, and I am one of the Academic Centre Administrators for the Medical Education Programme at the Institute of Continuing Education, University of Cambridge. The Institute is also known quite favourably as ICE. Today in the panel, we have myself, Dr. Cal Winston, who's the Academic Director for the Medical Education Programme. We have Janini Jayawardena, who is one of our student representatives, and we'll also have the company of colleagues from the enrolment and marketing teams. So you can all see the screen, I take it. So this week we have been running, and this is the last of the session, a variety of online sessions to give you the opportunity to find out more about our medical education courses at the Institute of Continuing Education. Course information sessions like this one tonight, covering each of our courses in the medical education medical courses portfolio will be taking place at 6:30 every evening. In addition to our live sessions, we also have additional video resources on our website, giving you further information on funding options, the application process, college matriculation, student support, and interview preparation. If you missed any of our sessions or have been unavailable to attend, then you can watch the recordings, which will be available on our website roughly 24 hours after each event. Links to events and resources are shared in the chat and will also be sent via email after this session. Next slide, please. Thank you. First of all, some background information. On ICE itself. It was established 150 years ago in 1873. We were the first university-led continuing education provider in the world. And today at ICE, we offer a wide range of courses to adult learners, including online, short online and residential weekend courses, international summer programs, and award-bearing part-time undergraduate and postgraduate qualifications. We cover a number of subject areas ranging from archaeology to genomic medicine and to medical education. We also act as the admitting body for all MST courses within the University of Cambridge, with our MST students becoming members of a Cambridge college upon commencement of their course. ICE is a place where, well, we like to think, where professional networks are formed, friendships are made, and the transformative power of learning is recognised. Next slide, please. We'd like to tell you a bit now about college partnerships and student support on the back of that. Postgraduate students, so that's to say students on PG, postgraduate certificate or postgraduate diploma courses, and non-matriculated members of the university, which means to say that they do not receive college membership until progressing onto the MST courses. Therefore, the welfare and pastoral support for postgraduate students is largely managed by ICE, although some wide university services are also available to such students. The teams at ICE also organise university cards and course completion celebrations for postgraduate students. Upon acceptance of an offer for the MST in medical education, you would then become a member of a University of Cambridge college, which would grant you the same level of support as all full-time college students. As well as having access to standard college resources, you would be allocated a college tutor who would be responsible for your welfare and pastoral support. And your college would confirm arrangements such as the provision of a university card, matriculation and graduation events. We work with a number of different colleges across our MST courses. The MST in medical education will be matriculated with Wolfson College for the 2025 to 26 intake. If you already have a pre-existing affiliation with a college, you will be able to state this on any application you may make to our courses. You can watch our informative video link. A link will be in the chat here for more information on our college partnerships and to hear from the colleges themselves about what they do to support their students. All students, whether postgraduate certificate, postgraduate diploma, or MST, become an alumni of the university. And all students, regardless of whether you are a PG Cert, PG Dip, or MST student, are able to approach their course teaching teams or course administration teams for support at any time. Next. So today's session, I should say this evening, where we are based here. So as I say, in this course information session, we have myself and Dr. Cal Winston, who is the academic director for the medical education program, and our student representative, Janini Jayawardena. We will also have representatives from the MC marketing team monitoring the Q&As to answer your questions. So please, if you have any questions as we go along, do put them in the Q&A bit at the bottom of your screens. Very shortly, we will take you through what you can expect from the medical education program, including entry requirements, teaching style, module content, and assessment. And at the end of the presentation, our enrolment team will take you through what kind of support we can provide during your application. We have time reserved at the end of the session to answer your questions. So please do send us your questions for any members of the team via the Q&A box at the bottom of the screen, and we will do our best to answer them at the end of the session. And now we'll hand you over to my colleague, Dr. Cal Winston, as I say, the academic director for the medical education program, to take you through some more specific details about the various courses within the medical education program. Thank you, Cal.
Yeah. Hello, so I'm Cal. So firstly, who is the course aimed at? Any healthcare professions educators, basically. It's, you know, everyone who comes is currently teaching, has at least a year's teaching experience, and it could be doctors, paramedics, dentists. You can see a whole list of people there. If you're involved in health professions, this is a course about how to teach other health professionals, essentially. Can we have the next slide, please? Okay, so the teaching approach, it's mostly in-person teaching. There are occasional online sessions. We think that, well, let me describe something. One of the key things about the course is that as well as talking about teaching, we model the teaching and practice and play with it. There's a lot of focus on the process of teaching as much as the content. It's interactive, it's inclusive, it's dialogic. I've just spent the day teaching the MST students, and we're sitting at small tables, small groups of 3 or 4, looking at each other's writing, talking to each other, working through ideas, practicing interviewing techniques with each other. That's what we've been doing today on the MST. So it's it's fun, actually. There's a lot of peer learning involved. There's a whole range of activities and assessments that we're involved in. We pay a lot of attention to reflection and the quality of feedback, giving feedback, receiving feedback, and as well as all the in-class time. There's each group in the cert and the dip. Everyone has a tutor group. So as well as the general in-class activities, there's work with your tutor, and obviously in the final year in the MST, you have an individual supervisor. And I'll come to all of those more in a minute. On top of the regular class time, there's discussions on the virtual learning environment, there's activities, there's readings, there's various things we get you involved in. Next slide, please. So I'm feeling this slide could have been earlier, actually. All right, the program structure, it's a 3-year progression program. So you sign up for 1 year at a time. So the first year is the postgraduate certificate, second year is the diploma, third year is the MST. So progression to the diploma and the MST is dependent on completion of the previous year. And the only one that's really competitive entry is the postgraduate certificate. You have to make an application and we interview people, but for the others, as long as you complete, it's likely you can progress. Each of the 3 courses has 2 or 3 teaching days each term and 1 assessment each term. And we'll talk about a little bit more about the details on the forthcoming slides. Go to the next slide, please. So postgraduate certificate, which you'll hear a bit more about from our student in a moment. But so it's module 1, where we've written module, that relates to term. So module 1, term 1. It's some core skills in medical education. There's some introduction to teaching and education theory. That's all face-to-face. There's 2 consecutive days in October and then another one in November, another one in December. This year they've all been at Madingley Hall. So I don't know whether that continues. Module 2 is more about practical teaching skills. We talk about work-based assessment. There's large group teaching, small group teaching, a little bit about a whole range of different teaching approaches on those 3 classroom days. Module 3 is a lot about discussing of assessment, of evaluation and feedback. Yeah, there's that peer-to-peer, quite a lot of peer learning, actually. There's 2 written assessments and 1 in the end of the first term and 1 at the end of the course. The first term talks about, you spend some time talking about learning theories. You pick a couple of learning theories, you explore them and write a little bit about them. And then the last assignment is reflecting on your educator journey through the year, how you've developed, how you've applied some of the ideas. And we also ask all the students to observe each other's teaching and do some reflection on that peer observation. That's the certificate. On completion of that year, you can move on to the diploma. Next slide, please. Similarly laid out in 3 terms. First term is all about curriculum and assessment, designing curriculum, developing curriculum, thinking about how assessment aligns with outcomes and teaching. Second module is about work-based learning, because obviously in healthcare professions, much of what we do is in practice, it's practice-based learning. And we also talk quite a lot about inclusive practice, supervising, those kinds of things. And the final module in the diploma is about leadership skills, largely mentoring, coaching, developing yourself and developing other people's educational skills. The assessments, there's a reflection of peer review of a project plan. Everyone's designing a project through this year, which is either an educational intervention or an innovation that they'll design, not put into practice for that year. And then they write up a portfolio, draw together whole different pieces of work to describe, but more about how their educational, how their teaching and education work looks in practice. And then on completion of that year, the final MST year, next slide please, is your dissertation year. So you put together a project, you write a research proposal in the first term. In the second term, we deal with the ethics and we talk about methods of data collection and analysis. You collect your data, you start analyzing it. And in the final module, you're basically writing up your dissertation. There's a writing retreat. Everyone works with their own supervisor, but also we do a lot of work in groups. And the assessment is your project proposal, a presentation, and your final dissertation. People love it. Okay, it's very hard to explain, but there's a very collegiate atmosphere. It's great for networking. I honestly feel very privileged to teach on this course because I don't have to. Well, it's going to sound strange. You set people off, you set up an activity, and then people get on with it. They discuss things, they share ideas. It's quite a dynamic classroom. I'll let Jan talk about that a little bit more. Next slide, please. Yeah. So the course it meets GMC professional standards. It's accredited by the Academy of Medical Educators. Completing it very well equips you to apply for the fellowship of the Higher Education Academy. It's not formally accredited at the moment, but that's something that's likely to be worked upon. Next slide, please. This is a list of some of the people who teach on the course. There are others, and it obviously does change a little bit as people retire and change, but basically a lot of highly skilled teachers, I would say. Next slide. Is there more? I can't remember. No. Okay. So that's me.
Excellent. Thank you, Cal. We are now going to hear from our student representative, Jan, who's currently studying on the PG certificate in medical education. Jan, can you tell us a little bit about what brought you to the course and how you found the application process and studying?
Yeah, so hi everyone, I'm Jan Jaya-Wardener. I am, as previously mentioned, currently studying on the postgraduate certificate in medical education. I was first made sort of acquainted with Madingley Hall when I was a student on another postgraduate certificate, which is the one in clinical medicine. So that was in 2017. I had a brilliant time, and so it was an easy sort of yes when someone suggested that I do the MedEd PG cert. I am a GP 2 days a week, just outside of Cambridge, and the other 3 days a week I work in the undergraduate section of the University of Cambridge's medical school. So I look after students largely in their clinical years on courses varying from GP through to palliative care. I do a lot of work in clinical communication skills. And so because it forms the majority of my week, I have found this course in medical education particularly useful. And I feel like I'm doing it sort of retrospectively in the sense that I do a lot of teaching and now I'm applying the theory and applying my knowledge from the PG Cert to my teaching. Like Cal says, the overriding message and sort of feeling from these courses is that just it's a lot of fun and it's incredibly well organized. And also, like Cal says, you can just see the process happening in front of you. So our teachers are excellent. And it's because they're just applying all this information and what we learn in real time. So it's great to be a part of the cohort. I've been asked to speak about sort of mixing with the cohort, how I manage it with my work and work-life study balance, and how I think this course is going to support me in my career development. So the cohorts, it's great. We are split into 2 cohorts of about, I think it's 40 students on each cohort, or 50. And we get to spend time having coffee with each other and having lunch with each other. And a big feature of Madingley Hall is that the food is excellent and constant, and there's the supply seems to be limitless, so there's lots of time to hang out with each other and chat. I'm lucky in terms of work study balance that I'm a part-time worker as a GP, so and then as a medical educator as well, so I have time to balance studying and the course requirements within my week. And I feel that, as I've already mentioned, the course is going to just really support me in my work going forward in education. Specific examples would be, looking after students who come to my practice just outside Cambridge. They've asked me to sort of give them more feedback in things like history taking and doing clinical examinations on patients. So the module on assessment and feedback is going to be sort of invaluable in understanding the theory behind and how to apply this to feeding back to the students. I'm really looking forward to it. So yes, Cal just mentioned there's 25 to 30 in each cohort on the PG Cert, so slightly fewer numbers than I had originally said. I hope that's okay. I'll hand back to Matt now, unless you have any more questions.
Thank you very much, Jan. Very much appreciated. Yes, please do leave any questions that you may have for our panelists using the Q&A function. I'm just going to very quickly queue up my my colleague Lucy.
I'm quite happy to speak, actually, if you want to,
okay.
Matt. Sorry. Yes.
Thank you very much. Yep, Deborah, if you're happy to.
Yes. I was going to say that we have, as mentioned earlier, we have representatives from our enrolment team with us here tonight as well. And Lucy has very kindly been monitoring questions as we go along and answering any questions. Lucy and the team in the enrolments team as a whole are there to help you as you as inquiring would-be students, to help you to find and select the right course to apply for, provide any advice and answer any questions you may have about eligibility and the whole application process. So if you haven't got around to putting any questions, or if you don't want to raise a question tonight, or you think of a question a little bit later on, you can either scan this QR code now on your screen, or when you see this later, or you can get in touch with the enrolment team by emailing them at questions@ice.cam.ac.uk. The address is there on your screens at the moment. And also, as we always say to any existing students, we are here for you. You're always welcome to get in touch with the academic team or the administration team directly if you have any questions about progression routes and to discuss any funding queries that you may have. And then after that, we shall move on to questions and answers. Yes, Matt?
Yep, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Deborah. We do have a few questions that have come through that have been sent through in advance. Just let me bring some up. So I think one of the most common questions that comes up from our potential applicants is whether or not they will be able to work at the same time as attending their course. So Cal, are you able to speak to that for the broader cohort? And Jan, are you able to then talk about it from your perspective?
So it's very much designed to go alongside work. The way of having 2 or 3 contact days per term means it fits well with work. Everyone who is on the course is working full time, or I would say so, actually, maybe part time, 1 or 2, but yeah, it's designed around work. There's not much more to say about that. In fact, you have to be working to be doing it, because if you're not doing some teaching, you don't get on the course, because you have to be talking about the teaching and practicing and have opportunities to apply the ideas we talk about.
Thank you for clarifying. Is there any additional sort of finance options, either from Student Finance England or NHS England, that might be able to support applicants for this course?
Shall I answer that one, Cal?
Yeah.
So in terms of funding, incidentally, you can all find further details about all of our courses on the ICE website, on the various course web pages. And under the funding option there, it will give mention to HEE funding, which is Healthcare Education England funding, or as it's now known is more specifically is HEEOE funding, which is Health Education East of England funding. So in order to be eligible to apply for that funding, you need to be working within the NHS and to be employed within the East of England, as it says on the tin. So we have got a link on our website, on the course webpage for the PG certificate course. So you can get in touch with HEE to make inquiries about that potential funding if you think you may be eligible. And we believe that the deadline for making such applications is the end of March. Another bit of advice we offer people about funding is that you should approach your employer, your board, your trust, to see if there's any funding there that might be able to support you. If not in its entirety, then even part of your student fees, which may be of help to you. And just ask around if there's any small pots available. You know, students are very often very happy if they can get even something towards the cost of their fees.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Deborah. Cal, I can see you're already on the answer, but it might be a good one to answer live. How much prior teaching experience would help with potential applicants for the course?
So it's a great question. We have, I mean, I think I said a minimum of 1 year, but we have students for a range of 1 to, I would say 20 odd years teaching experience, most grouped around the earlier 2, 3, 4, 5 years. I think we like to have a range. It's having the range of experience that enriches the conversations. Because there's things that relatively inexperienced teachers can learn from more experienced ones, and really interesting things that more experienced teachers can learn from people coming at it with a fresh view, fresh perspective. So it's the range. You're asking what's the ideal. I would say if you've have done some teaching over the last 2 or 3 years, you're in a great position for the course, but it can vary.
Thank you very much. Jan, this might be a good question for you. How much interaction will I get with other students on the course outside of the residential teaching?
So we have formed, there's lots of opportunities to network, and so we all sort of message each other on various messaging platforms, including the virtual learning environment, which is the online platform provided by the Institute of Continuing Education. So as an example, as we started the course, we were all asked to introduce ourselves and post a picture and say something that was memorable about ourselves, so we could sort of identify each other easily as we started. So the short answer is lots, and as has been said previously, it's one of the things that really makes the course worthwhile is interacting with people from different specialties and different stages in their careers to get that varied perspective.
Can I just add to that to say as well about how the Institute organises student networking dinners with the purpose of helping students across all courses come together to make those important friendships, but important networking opportunities as well. And those are held at Madingley Hall, where the in-person teaching takes place. So beautiful venue just outside Cambridge, Madingley Hall.
Thank you very much. We spoke to the size of the size of the cohorts earlier. One question that we've had in advance is the course open to international students, and sort of roughly what's the breakdown in terms of international students versus domestic on the course?
I don't mind taking that.
Yeah.
We do accept international students, but really quite few come. Deborah can probably give more accuracy on the statistics, but I would say no more than 5% are international, but we welcome them. Does that sound fair, Deborah?
Yeah, so that's about it. But we do nonetheless do have students who've come in from quite some distance and are always very pleased to do so. Our students, I was going to just say that our students do love coming in to have the face-to-face teaching. They do value that contact. As we say, it is important for them to build connections, to learn from one another as well. And I was going to say the fact that we did have another in advance query about this face-to-face attendance and whether it's possible to attend online. And face-to-face attendance, on average, once a month, would you say, Cal, on average? It certainly is with the cert, more or less with the dip as well. That face-to-face attendance is a requirement of the course. So we don't do online teaching. And we dealt with that very well during the pandemic, but now we're back to face-to-face teaching, which our students are telling us they really, really value.
Right, I think the students really value face-to-face teaching. There are quite a few med-ed courses that are just online, and it's quite a different experience. We do make sure there's one session in the DIP and one session in the MST that are online, because we also think it's important to develop skills in how to do online teaching well. But it's fun to spend a day. It also means if you spend a day in person together, you can switch off from other work and other responsibilities and just focus on the learning. And I think that's quite helpful.
Fabulous. Thank you very much. We're nearing the end of the session. I've got another question to ask. If there's any more questions from the audience, please do let us know by the Q&A function. So one last question from me before I hand back to Deborah to do the kind of final roundup. Is it possible to apply this year and potentially defer my place to next year if I get accepted? Cal and Deborah?
Deborah, do you want to answer that? Because my understanding is that you can't.
Yes, I can answer. I was just trying to take myself off mute. Sorry about that. I would just to say that prior to this year, it's not been possible to defer. We are now introducing that process for deferral in exceptional circumstances. So those exceptional circumstances could be to the onset of severe illness or something like a medical condition of some sort. And that is still being evolved and the process will be finalized before this new intake for 25-26. So that will be made known. If you should start a course and something happens, then we do have an intermission process. But on the whole, we need to say that there isn't a deferral process unless there's that exceptional circumstance. So if we offer you a course, then we expect to start, and we normally start in the October of any given year.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, guys. That brings us to the end of the session. So I'm going to hand back over to Deborah for kind of closing comments.
Well, what's left to say really is thank you very much for joining us, and we would love to hear back from you. Please do get in touch with us, as I've already highlighted with the questions email you can send, and it would be really appreciative if you could let us know your thoughts by completing our satisfaction survey, which we will email to you before very long. So thank you once again, and goodbye for now. Bye-bye.